What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks. It's Brian Hines, back as always with Alex Barth, off another New England Patriots victory, 26-20 over the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday there yesterday. But Barth, it's a win. It's their 10th win of the season. They increased their lead in the AFC East. They're the first team in football to hit 10 wins. But it wasn't always pretty against that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase Bengals, and they certainly paid the price with a lot of injuries, which we will get into. So kind of a tale of two things there with this game, but it is a win, hard-fought game, and they do get out of there. Not healthy, though, however.
Yeah, look, and then I've said I'm rooting against the Chiefs. I would just rather them not be in the dance, but the reality is the Colts lost. The Patriots now have control of the 1 seed. Other teams have a game in hand, but they do have control of the 1 seed in the AFC. That lone bye could end up being very, very important now with some of these injuries. I don't think it's a game like I feel like some fans almost feel guilty enjoying that win. And no, it's a win. And from where this team was a year ago, you should enjoy it. You should enjoy the team being 10-2. And, we're going to talk about some of the issues they had, some of the injury stuff. That's not to diminish the win at all. It's just part of the game. I think it was Phil Perry that tweeted out Pyrrhic victory, which is a victory that comes at great cost to the victor. They're going to have to win some that way. That's just the reality of it. And they're going to have to move on. But it was funny. I came away from it. And even going into the game, I don't know about you, Brian, but I got the question quite a few times over the last few weeks. Okay, they're off to this great start, and that's good. But what's the difference between this team and 2021? And people pointing out that 2021, around this time, that was coming off of the actual bye. This is coming off from the mini bye, but similar time on the calendar. That's when the wheels fell off. And they started playing some better teams, which the Patriots are going to do here coming up. And I had said this when we did our crossover with Mike and Taylor. The Bengals game was sneaky trappy, even without Joe Burrow. The 2021 team loses that game. That was the kind of game they were losing. And so you see a little bit of difference in that. The start, obviously not what you're looking for. Is a bad start. You don't need to sugarcoat it. That's what it was. It was a bad start. They very easily could have tapped out of that game. They very easily could have let go of the rope. And you get, some captains, some key players stepping up. Hunter Henry, Marcus Jones, Stephon Diggs. Obviously, Drake May kind of shakes off whatever the hell was going on with them at the start of that game, and they're able to get their footing. And again, they have to win it ugly, but they do win it. So that's an encouraging sign. But now, whether it be the injuries in this game, I think you saw the impact of past injuries in this game, which we'll get into. Like, there are some things they are going to need to figure out here down the stretch that, this is going to be more of a challenge than maybe we thought. And it's going to be on the coaching staff. They've done a tremendous job with the program and the culture and all of that, and the game management. The schematic element of it might get tested a little bit more here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's still something to be said for winning ugly, right? And on the road and being perfect now on the road.
Absolutely.
And doing that. But this does feel like a team that really needs their bye week right now. And it felt like that even the last few weeks. It just hasn't been as pretty. And even listening to Mike Vrabel and some of the players talk after the game, like, it doesn't sound like maybe they're practicing as well too, like the energy. And last week, maybe against the Jets, you could say, okay, it was a short week, divisional game, but then they come out and they start really slow against Cincinnati, and you're like, okay, this team has played a lot of games. They've been on the road, 6 times. They've won 6 times on the road, like. And now the injuries, like, they are literally limping into this bye week. It really feels like they need that. So they just got to get through this Giants game. They have an extra day at least, with Thanksgiving, and then it's the Monday night game. So they have an extra day this week, and then they get the bye. But it really feels like they need that bye right now, and hopefully to kind of reset everything. And it sounds like some of these injuries, like, they'll extend beyond the bye as well. But just some guys get back healthier and kind of reset everything.
I will say, you mentioned the bye. Something that's going to be interesting here. I think something as grueling as the beginning of the schedule was, in some ways, it may have helped them. Of their first 10 games, 9 were Sunday at 1 o'clock, and then they had a Sunday 8:20 game, but they only played on Sundays for the first 10 weeks. They handled the short week well against the Jets, but you have short week, long week again going into Monday night, bye week. Then you come off the bye week, so you have the long week. Then you do have you go Sunday to Sunday, So there's a normal one there going from Buffalo to Baltimore. Then you have another Sunday, but it's Christmas week, so it's going to look a little different. Like, they don't really have the only truly routine week they have left is the week leading up to the Ravens game, where they'll play on Sunday, practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then play again on Sunday. And then maybe at the end between the Jets and the Dolphins. We'll see when that Dolphins game is, but they don't really have any routine weeks left after an amazing routine to start the season. So,
and that Ravens game could get flexed.
Even if
it's Sunday night, like your practice routine stays the same, but
right,
it's just a little different in that time frame there.
So they were able to really get in a rhythm. And again, it's on the coaching staff and on the program here that you're going to have a different routine every week. You're not going to have a routine essentially between now and the end of the season. I think the 2021 team was like that too, actually. If I remember correctly, there was one year in there, like late with Belichick, that the end of the schedule just got super weird. Yeah. So it was, they won most of these. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, they had 3 primetime games, which was
and it wasn't 2022 like that too, because they played Thanksgiving and then they had like the Cardinals Monday night.
Yeah,
so they stayed out west. They stayed out west for that.
They played Thursday, Monday, Sunday, and they stayed out west between the Monday and Sunday games.
So that one was funky too. So
yeah, and that was all almost coming off the bye. So they've had these weird stretches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, and they were 23. They were supposed to have 3 primetime games in a row to start in December, but that was the year that Chiefs game got flexed out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember that. And the Vegas one got flexed too, right? Which was the Jacoby lateral play. So this is the time of the year that schedule can get a little bit interesting. I don't know if one of those games could get moved to Saturday too, like one of those last 2, maybe. I forget when the Saturday games exactly come in. So schedule be a little bit weird. So that continuity they had early in the year won't be the same down the stretch here. And it certainly won't be the same along the offensive line with that continuity, because they lose Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, that rookie duo on the left side. Early reports, Will Campbell undergoing testing today, suffered a MCL sprain in his knee, and Jared Wilson, that is, suffered a high ankle sprain. So good news, doesn't look like either of these are season-ending injuries as of now, but they are significant, probably a month, 4 to 6 weeks, that kind of time frame. So they will have to survive in the meantime without Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, Barth. So where do you go on the offensive line? It was Vidarian Lowe and Ben Brown yesterday in relief. Is that what you're sticking with? And how big of an impact do you think this is going to have on the offense moving forward for the immediate future?
Yeah, just on the injuries, it's this time of year, a season-ending injury, and we're obviously looking at that from the outside looking in, like with Will Campbell, right? Okay, is it an ACL? His knee was carted off. Jared Wilson looking at his ankles, is it an Achilles, something like that. And obviously glad it's not those, obviously. 5-week injury, you have a minor setback, can be a season-ending injury this time of year, which is what makes this kind of such a weird thing. If it's September, I think they're probably talking about it a little differently, because you also get into like, okay, he could return maybe in 4 weeks, but if that last game of the year doesn't mean anything, is he going to play? How much is he going to play? Like it, and with the playoffs coming up, you really start to micromanage it down to the day. So it definitely sounds like, I'm doing the math in my head with Campbell. If it's an ACL, and I'm saying last night, well, when did Diggs tear his? When did some other guys, like, is he going to be ready for next year?
Yeah, I was there with you.
So it sounds like they've dodged that, which is massive, and obviously happy for those guys. Don't want to see the rookie year end like that. The report from Rap Sheet was Wilson might be week to week, which is, all right, so he's probably not going to play Monday, but then you have the bye. Like, do you get him back for that tough stretch? Although that one, nothing against Jared Wilson, but we've talked about this all year. Like, him and Ben Brown at this point are probably comparable players. I don't think there's as much of a drop-off there. It's that, Will Campbell, it sounds like, is going to miss some more time. Mike Vrabel talked about IR potentially being on the table, which, again, the bye week does not eliminate that. So it would be, I think he'd be out until the last week of the year, right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he'd be eligible to return for the Dolphins game at the end of the year. So, you're back to Vidarian Lowe, who obviously had his issues last year. Patriots fans are familiar. Now, you want the glass half full side of it. The rest of the offensive line is much better than it was last year. And so maybe you can do more to help Vidarian Lowe that maybe you couldn't last year because it was DeMontre Jacobs or it was Ben Brown who had just gotten here right away. Cole Strange at his up and downs last year. So maybe the rest of it being a little more solidified, you can help Vidarian Lowe more, but it's going to be a drop off from Will Campbell. It's just going to be. And so Drake has elevated this offensive line at times this year, and he did it in that game, both before and after Campbell went out. It's going to be that much more on him to step up, get the ball out quickly. And that pocket movement we've seen come on strong here the last couple of weeks is going to be even more important.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely a drop-off going from Will Campbell to Vidarian Lowe. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of the fan base might think it is. Like, I tweet yesterday, Will Campbell out, Vidarian Lowe coming in, and you would have thought World War III just started in my Twitter mentions with Vidarian Lowe coming in. And you mentioned the help. Like, the way Josh McDaniels has helped his tackles this year, including Will Campbell. Will Campbell hasn't been perfect either. He's a rookie. And again, he's a higher level caliber player than Vidarian Lowe. You'd rather have him out there. But like, to have Vidarian Lowe come in and make a couple spot starts, I don't think it's the most disastrous thing in the world in terms of pass pro. The run game, I think you're going to probably feel that because Will Campbell's been one of their best run blockers at left tackle there, and Vidarian Lowe isn't as good at left tackle. But I don't think this is like something that's going to completely derail the offense. I think they're going to be able to work around it with, Josh McDaniels, and you mentioned Drake's pocket movement, how good that's been. I think they'll be able to kind of work around this thing still.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to, again, when you talk about Vidarian Lowe from last year to this year, we talk about sometimes when you have 5 guys that are playing together well, it makes everybody look a little better than they actually are. Last year might have been the opposite of that. And I think playing on a better line will help him, like, overall will help him a little bit. The big thing to me that they're going to have to figure out quickly is just the chemistry. This line really started playing with good chemistry the last couple of weeks. I thought they'd taken a big step forward, particularly on that left side. I did the Patriots Hub podcast with David Andrews earlier today. That will be up at 6:00. People can check that out. And something that he had brought up was when you have rookies in those spots, the veterans probably are not taking many snaps, like fewer than usual for a backup, because you got to get those guys even into the season. You got to get those guys up to speed as much as possible. So how much has Ben Brown worked with Garrett Bradbury? How much have Ben Brown and Vidarian Lowe worked together? How much have they worked with Drake May? Probably not a lot. So that's going to be something big to look at early on here in the first game or two, however long these guys are out.
Mm-hmm. And some of Lowe's miscues against Cincinnati were kind of on the mental side. Like, he allowed a run stuff on kind of a late movement, and then he like an unblocked rusher got free in his gap, which, Bengals kind of were bringing zero blitz there. So someone was going to get free, but he blocked someone on the outside and instead of the guy on the inside. So you hope a full week of practice, some of that mental error stuff can get cleaned up. And then I would also just say, with this better coaching staff, you hope that there's maybe just been a little bit of development over these past, however many months they've been at this thing, and he's maybe a little bit better of a player than he showed last year. I was talking to Taylor down at Gillette today, and he said he already noticed his hand punching looked a little more improved from last year. So maybe just more time with Mike Vrabel and Josh McDaniels and Doug Marrone and all those offensive line coaches they have. It's just been a little cleaner of a process for Vidarian Lowe here. And again, he can be serviceable enough at that left tackle spot with some chip help. First snap he's out there and they drop back. Chip help with Hunter Henry. You saw that a lot all year from Josh McDaniels. So it sucks again that Will Campbell's out and he's not going to be out there. But I do think that they can be serviceable, at least for the time being, with Vidarian Lowe and Ben Brown in there. The other injuries, not much of an update on Khyiris Tonga. He left with a chest injury, and Brendan Schooler, he left with an ankle injury. He was in a walking boot as well after the game. Vrabel didn't have as much to say about those guys this morning, or there haven't been any reports out of those guys as well. So Schooler obviously would be a huge loss on special teams with everything he brings if he's forced in this time. And Tonga, you're already down Milton Williams. If now you drop down Tonga, now you're really, reaching into those depth options. They had to elevate Jeremiah Farms off the practice squad Sunday. Josh Farmer was inactive. You figured he might be active now. More Eric Gregory. So if Tonga's missing time, you're really testing that depth along the defensive line.
Yeah, you are, and you saw it in this game with Milton Williams out and then Tonga. The Bengals running for over 5 yards a clip between the guards. I mean, came right out and attacked the Patriots interior, and it's what's going to happen. Like, yeah, they've been a great run defense. They've been a great run defense because some of these guys that are on the field, Milton Williams, Kyrus Tonga, Jelani Tavai, another sneaky loss, and obviously hope everything is okay with him. Mike Vrabel said today that there's no update on this situation, but the team clearly feeling for him, clearly pulling for him, and just want to extend that as well. But I mean, it's a significant number of not just good players, but now that number is starting to rise that they've lost from their run defense. So, we like Eric Gregory, we like Jeremiah Farms, we like Corey Durden. They're not as good as Milton Williams and as Kyrus Tonga. And you're seeing that. You saw that impact play out. Chase Brown nearly doubled up the most productive game that a running back had for the Patriots before that. So, yeah, Tonga is a big one because we talked about, Milton Williams, we said it last week, maybe they're in a spot to absorb this more than some other positions because they have a guy like Kyrus Tonga. Well, if they don't have Tonga, it changes the math on it quite a bit. So
Cincinnati averaged 3 yards before contact on their runs yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
They were getting blown off the ball, and you really missed, Milton Williams, the disruption behind the line of scrimmage, some of those splash plays, like they really missed that. So the run defense was already kind of showing cracks, right? That's 3 straight weeks now. They've allowed over 5 yards per carry. First 100-yard rusher, as you said, with Chase Brown this week. So you take Tonga out of that equation now, and you saw that Bengals offensive line was moving some bodies, and they've been showing some cracks in the run game there. So you hope Tonga, again, it was a chest injury. You hope he's good, doesn't miss too much time there because they do need him up front. So those were the injuries. Morgan Moses left with an illness, but he returned. I believe that was it in the injury department. So I want to dive in a little bit more to this 26-20 win for the Patriots. But very quickly before we do that, also want to dive in and hear from our friends over at Prize Picks because it is the holiday season and the best time of the year for sports. Bowl games, basketball matchups, feast week this week. Great time in college basketball and playoff pushes for your New England Patriots and others, and it's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's only one place where it feels good to be right, and that's over on Prize Picks. And maybe the best thing about Prize Picks is picking multiple sports and putting that in the same lineup. We did that a couple weeks ago. We mixed some Patriots, we mixed some Bruins. We got Morgan Geeky in our lineup, scored a big goal, so you guys can do that. With all these sports going on, you might as well start Monday night, Panthers, 49ers, Monday night football, plenty of good options with the Niners offense getting a little healthier, Christian McCaffrey, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle. Even go to Carolina and go to Rico Dowdle, Tet, all those options there. Or just save it for Sunday or Monday this week with the Patriots lineup there. So make sure you guys download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All over on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. All right. Back to the game. We mentioned that slow start, Barth, and it was certainly a slower start for Drake May. Didn't look like Drake May for the first couple possessions there. Was pretty errant. Had that first career pick six where he just completely sailed one, but kind of bounced back pretty well. So what did you see from Drake to start, and then from the pick six kind of on throughout that game?
There was something up with him. I don't know if it was the long week, if it was whatever. He was not settled in at all. And I mean, the miss to Hunter Henry, they've hit that throw 100 times this year. That ends up being a pick six, but he was able to settle back down enough. I don't think it was a complete bounce back, but he's able to settle back down enough. Look, they put up almost 400 yards. They still had their normal complement of explosive plays. Like, I feel like they still had about as many explosive plays as they'll have over the course of a game. What they didn't have was in between. They didn't have like the 3 to 4 yard stay on schedule gains. It was, constantly getting into 3rd and 10s. And that's why they had some of these explosive plays that were forced into those situations. I think it was a little disappointing given what that Bengals defense is. And that was far and away that unit's best game of the year. But yeah, he came out rattled, settled down eventually, but they really needed his big playability because the short stuff wasn't there. The run game was we can get to the goal line stuff. He had a terrible start. I don't think he had a terrible game. But you just hope whatever that was at the beginning of the game was a one-off.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen kind of some slow starts from him, even like in training camp practices. We've seen some slow starts, and then he bounces back. But this one was really rough, with some of those throws. He had that one with like Travion Henderson and Austin Hooper out to his left. And like I think he said on the radio today, he didn't know which one to throw it to, and he just kind of accidentally put it in the middle of the two of them. So it was funky, but he leads a touchdown drive after the pick six. Still had a couple of those, high level throws that just kind of makes your jaw drop. The one to Pop Douglas down the middle to start the third quarter, the one to Mac Hollins on the sideline, the right sideline there. So almost hit the 300-yard mark, so close to his first career 300-yard game, but the accuracy was really one of his worst accuracy performances of the year. But did bounce back in some way to not have a complete total game. It's one of those games where, like, if that's the floor, like it was still good enough to win. So not horrible. You did mention, speaking of horrible, you did mention that red zone sequence. They had a couple of them, but that one, 6 plays at the 1-yard line, and they could not punch it in. And this is where, some of the blame, I think, was on the offensive line, struggling to get 1 yard on the ground. A penalty on Mac Hollins, the 4th down play where May probably should have pulled it. It was an RPO, and he had looked like Hunter Henry opening on the goal line, but he hands it off to Ramondre into a bad look, and he gets stuffed. So that was a disaster. And if you talk about wanting to go places in the playoffs, like, you have to find a way to get a yard or be better in the red zone and get touchdowns, not field goals there.
Yeah, I mean, we've been asked, what happened there. I don't think it's any one thing. It was a whole lot of bad. That first series in particular, 9 snaps, 8 from inside the 5, 6 from the 1 are in, and you can't have it. You got to score there. And, the push up front is part of it. They really got out physical to the line of scrimmage. I thought that, and I don't look, it's tough to say in the moment. The PI on Mac Hollins, Henry has his guy beat before Hollins makes contact. I understand it's supposed to be a rub route, and Hollins is kind of looking back for the ball, so he doesn't see the defender coming. But, like, if there's a way to get out of the way and dodge that contact, knowing Henry's already beat his guy. The other thing I wonder, this is kind of an out-of-the-box thought, but I'm going to throw it out there, Brian. Tell me what you think.
Let's hear it.
Drake May is awesome. He's been great, and he does a lot of things well. The quarterback sneak, maybe not one of his strong suits.
So bad
whether it be a tush push or regular quarterback sneak. You see some other teams, the Ravens will do this from time to time. The Steelers do it. And different teams do it for different reasons, but I think the Bengals even faked it at one point. They'll use other players for quarterback sneaks. That's kind of a popular trend right now. I don't know who it would be. The first 2 guys that pop into my head are Hunter Henry and Mac Hollins, but
Hollins would be a good one.
Should they be one of these teams that uses a different player for the quarterback sneak?
I don't know why he's so bad. Like, it doesn't seem like he gets low enough.
You know what? It's such a feel play. Having heard other quarterbacks talk about it, like I remember Brady talking about it being asked why he was so good at it. It's such a feel play, and there's an element of you just kind of there's a lot of chemistry and feel that goes with it. And some guys just have that knack, some guys don't.
He did,
and I don't know, maybe it can be coached up, but
he did run like right into a bad look, like when he did do it. So the field, he just looks so awkward doing it, and I think And like you say, he's 6'4", but like Brady's 6'4", Josh Allen's 6'5", like they find success with it. So it is weird that he's so bad at that.
There's a history, not that he's like a running quarterback, but there's a history of some running quarterbacks being bad at quarterback sneaks because it's just not what they're used to.
Yeah.
Right. They're used to having the ball in their hand and being in the open field and going. Maybe that's what it was for Brady. Like that was the only kind of carry he ever really had. So he got used to it. So yeah, I don't know if they would do that or not. It's just a thought I had. Like, do you put somebody again? I go to Mac Hollins and Hunter Henry. I don't know who else there is that might fit that, but do you put one of those guys back there and try to have them do it?
Definitely. Because they do feel, even like the running backs, like a couple handoffs at the one, like Mondre, who might not be completely healthy, and Terrell Jennings, like they don't even have that like run through a guy's face, kind of like they
Right.
need that guy, and it's not going to be Drake with the quarterback sneak. So Mac Hollins, I feel like would make sense. A little more athleticism than Hunter Henry if you need him to be an athlete or something. So maybe they mix that in, because even last year they did like Jacoby Brissett. They had to bring Jacoby
Right.
in to do the quarterback sneaks, and
I mean,
they
Jacoby's been
eventually,
doing that for years now.
yeah, he's very good at it. But
Right.
something just with Drake, it looks very awkward with him doing it. So maybe they pivot somewhere there. But yeah, that sequence and then the quarterback sneak was later on another drive. Just they have to be able to convert in the red zone. Ultimately, it didn't cost them, but you talk about these playoff games and more high leverage games down the stretch. You need some touchdowns and not field goals there. So that was Drake. That was the red zone. The running back room, speaking of Ramondre, he came back, but still Travion Henderson kind of led the way there. Pass catchers, it was a big day for Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. This Bengals defense has been really bad in a lot of things, but covering tight ends was one of them. So good to see the tight ends kind of get involved. Just those two guys, just such calming presences on the offense. It
Yeah.
feels good veteran presences, and you kind of saw that take over yesterday with over the middle of the field, even with the pick six was to Henry, but then come right back over the middle of the field,
Right.
kind of calm things down, those two.
And along those lines of the veteran presence, and those are the guys you want to kind of turn to when the game goes off the rails like that. Stephon Diggs, not a very productive day in terms of receptions, but really good game. I thought he impacted the game away from the ball. The big one is obviously they get backed up with the penalty. They have a 1st and 20, hits Hunter Henry over the middle. It would have been a gain of like 10 or 15, but Steph Diggs able to step up, set a physical block, and Henry gets the angle for a 1st down. So you love seeing a guy like Steph Diggs impact the game on a day where the ball's maybe not coming his way a ton, but he does have, he gets that big 1st down catch there late in the game as well.
Definitely. And then another guy like Pop Douglas doesn't get a lot of looks, opportunities, but catches the big one, takes the jet sweep the next play. So those guys just making opportunities when the ball's thrown their way, even if they're not the most involved. It's a tight end game, but the wide receiver is still there and make plays when the ball comes their way. So anything else with that offense? Anyone else stand out to you?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Else with that? Okay, so defense, we talked about the struggles to stop the run game a bit earlier there. That's been a concern the last couple of weeks. I will say, though, I thought the pass defense was much better in this one. Carlton Davis had the 3 pass breakups late. Kind of highlighted the day and the Marcus Jones pick 6. But as a whole, it felt a lot better. Now, you didn't have to go against Jamar Chase, right? But T. Higgins was pretty quiet in that one, and it did feel like they didn't give up any explosives through the air. So it felt like a better day for the pass defense in this one.
Yeah, I thought the secondary played much better, and we talked about this last week with Milton Williams out, who's going to step up. And the secondary needing to step up. And Carlton Davis played really well. Marcus Jones played really well. Christian Gonzalez was okay. You don't like seeing him get beat there at the end of the game like that. But that collectively, even with Christian Gonzalez having a bit of a down day, that's one of the best games their secondary's played this year.
Mm-hmm. I think it was Davis's best game as a Patriot, probably. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, him individually, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously the 3 pass breakups on the final drive kind of steal the show, but he was good elsewhere. Like even the Marcus Jones pick 6, like he takes away T. Higgins, which was I think Flacco's read, and then he has to check it down. And Marcus Jones is there. He did get the DPI, which he was not happy about post game, as one would imagine. But I thought Carlton Davis was really, really good. Best game as a Patriot yesterday there. Up front, what'd you think kind of as a pass rush without Milton Williams? What'd you see?
I don't think the drop-off was as stark as it was in the run game. It was definitely noticeable. Like Harold Landry still doesn't look right. I know he's been dealing with an injury. Barmore is able to get some pressure. I don't think it was like bad. It clearly wasn't what it was with Milton Williams in there.
Yeah. Barmore got doubled a lot, as you would expect. Durden played 33 or 36 snaps. I forget the total.
About right, yeah.
So a little more work for him. He still had a couple pressures, a couple run stuff. So good to see him even in a little bit more of an elevated role, still making some splash plays there. K'Lavon Chaisson, interesting. Like he makes these boneheaded plays, 4th and 5, jumping off sides, but then he comes back and like should have been a sack, but pressure that forces an incompletion and a punt. So he's interesting because he makes some bad plays and then he responds with good plays. So it's always an interesting way to kind of judge or grade his performance on the day there. But that was the pass rush. So anything else with the defense? The run defense was the big one.
Yeah, the run defense is. I mean, we talked about it earlier. They got a lot to figure out, and we'll see what happens with Tonga. But you look at the Ravens coming up, you look at the Bills coming up. Those are suddenly you got to come up with something. Maybe it's the linebacker stepping up from the second level. Maybe it's going and getting. I don't know who there is in free agency. I don't think Christian Wilkins makes a lot of sense, but they gotta figure something out there because the run defense was not good enough.
Even the Jets and Dolphins games, like those are two teams that can run the football. So they're going to get tested definitely with that run defense down the stretch. Needs to be better. So hopefully they can bounce back and find some improvements. But we'll wrap up. Special teams, big day for Andy Borgalas after missing his first kick since week 2 against the Jets. Bounced back, perfect 4-for-4 day, made all his PATs. So he's just continued to be Mr. Consistent. And we also saw a new kick returner back there at Kyle Williams. So who made a big play at the end. So good day from the special teams department.
I'm glad we finally saw that. And both of us have been talking about that for a while. I get that maybe he's not the body type they want, but it just kind of got, Chisholm had one game in there. He was okay, but they wasn't the same juice without Travion Henderson deep, and Henderson now it looks like is their lead back. So I hope we get more of a chance to see Kyle Williams. I thought he was good on that role. Had that one big kick return late. He got out to the 40. Just a way to get him involved, which I think is important. So hopefully we see more of that going forward. And I don't know, from the outside looking in, I thought he earned another shot. Obviously, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the coaches think. But I hope we get to see him return some more kicks because I thought that looked good.
He took a big shot on the first one, and you're watching it and being like, okay, maybe that's why they prefer a bigger body, like a running back body, doing these. But then, you see the straight line speed and the explosiveness. 36 yards late in the fourth quarter kind of helped kickstart that last field goal drive, which proved to be very, very big play. And that was their longest kick return since Antonio Gibson's touchdown in week 2. So Vrabel's, talked about this play, wanting it to be a weapon. Wasn't really a weapon with, Chisholm and Terrell Jennings and Dearness Johnson back there. You lose that 4-4 speed. They opt maybe for a little safer play. Let's make some good decisions, just get the ball to the 30. But now maybe with Kyle Williams back there, that can start to be a weapon for him, and maybe they can break some of these with his speed. And he was close to almost breaking one as a receiver too. We kind of caught an underneath ball, which good to see him. I'd like to see more of that too. Just kind of these either mesh or crossers, like get him running horizontally and get him the ball and let his speed take over. Because if he didn't get, I think it was like the jersey got tugged from behind, like he could have housed that. So good to finally see him get the ball in space, and you can just see the difference that speed can bring to the table. So more Kyle Williams. I'm always in favor of more Kyle Williams and that speed.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts? Anything we missed?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting stretch here. It's going to be an interesting stretch. We're really going to kind of see Josh McDaniels, Zach Core. Mike Vrabel did say today, gave a little bit of an update on Terrell Williams. And it sounds like he's still around a bit, but so, for those guys, big test yet, like get them down the stretch. And based on the reporting we have, and I based on what's out there, it sounds like maybe if they can get the playoffs, or 10 wins. I know they haven't clinched, but it would be,
disaster.
Talk about, right. Yeah. Not only a disaster, you'd have some miraculous stuff from some other teams too to catch them. If you can get to the playoffs, right, you get to be back full go, and we know what this team is at full go, but you don't want to limp in figuratively and literally, what would it be, 2-3 in your last 5 games? Can you find it? If they can take care of business against the Jets, Giants, and Dolphins, just get 1 of 2 against the Ravens and Bills, get that home playoff game, get the division. It's going to be a lot harder than we thought it was maybe 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago, but still, it's all still in play. It's just going to be about how they adjust.
Mm-hmm. And now it's like the 1 seed is even bigger, right? With all these injuries, like if you get an extra week for Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, even if they're back by that point, like if they play in week 18, like just to get them a little extra rest, like the 1 seed with all these injuries just is even way more important now, I would say.
Yeah, it comes a lot more into focus that spot for sure.
Mm-hmm. So big stretch. It starts Monday night, and then they'll get a much needed bye So we'll be back sometime this week. We have to figure out with the holidays.
Yeah.
I hope everyone has a Thanksgiving as well. So we'll be back at some point this week to preview that Monday night matchup against the New York Giants, who they fired their defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen, who's a Vrabel guy, today as well. So they'll be on an interim head coach, interim defensive coordinator. We'll see if Jackson Dart gets out of concussion protocol in time for that, or if we're going to get a Jameis show again. Jameis Winston, man, one of the that touchdown catch he had against the Lions. Oh my God, he's a fun player to watch. So maybe it's Jameis, maybe it's Jackson Dart. We'll be back to break that one down. We'll let you guys know, but make sure you're also locked on to Patriots Press Pass. Like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on your notifications so you do know when we're going to go live. Also, if you're just on audio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, please subscribe there as well. We would appreciate that. Make sure you're also following Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thsportshub.com for his Patriots content there. And you can follow me on Twitter at @IamBrianHines and head over to patspulpit.com for all of our Patriots coverage live online there as well. So thanks, everyone, for jumping on with us tonight. Again, have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you guys later this week.